Picture this, 96,290 fans packed into the Camp Nou, watching their team need 6 goals to stay in the Champions League. Impossible? You would think so, but not for Barcelona. Let's break down how Neymar inspired Barcelona to the greatest comeback in football history. Barcelona faced a tough task. They were down 4-0 after their first game against Paris Saint-Germain. To move on, they needed to score at least 5 goals without letting PSG score. No team had ever done this before in Champions League history. The odds were against them. The Camp Nou was full of energy that night. Nearly 100,000 fans cheered for their team, hoping for a miracle. The players could feel the support as they stepped onto the field. They knew they had to do something special. Could Barcelona pull off the impossible? The stage was set for an unforgettable night of football. As the whistle blew to start the match, Barcelona knew they needed a miracle. But what if that miracle started just 3 minutes into the match? The opening minutes would set the tone for one of the most extraordinary comebacks in football history. Luis Suarez wasted no time in giving Barcelona the start they desperately needed. Just 3 minutes into the game, he scored the opening goal. Suarez nodded the ball over the line after a deflected cross from Rafinha. This early goal was crucial. It lit a fire under the Barcelona players and fans alike. Barcelona's aggressive start put PSG on the back foot right away. The visitors looked nervous and disorganised. This was clear when no PSG defenders took charge during Suarez's goal. Barcelona's relentless pressure forced PSG to defend desperately. The French team struggled to find their rhythm and kept making mistakes. The psychological impact of Suarez's early goal was huge. It shifted the momentum firmly in Barcelona's favour. The players' confidence soared. The fans started to believe that the impossible might just be possible. The early goal turned the Camp Nou into a cauldron of hope and excitement. Before the match, Suarez had called for patience from both players and fans, but his quick goal changed everything. The atmosphere went from cautious optimism to unrestrained belief in just 3 minutes. It showed how fast things can change in football when a team seizes the initiative. As the match went on, Barcelona kept up their intense pressure. They kept PSG pinned back in their own half for long periods. The visitors couldn't get out of their own end. Every Barcelona attack seemed to bring them closer to another goal. The PSG players looked increasingly uncomfortable as the minutes ticked by. Barcelona's attacks kept coming, wave after wave. PSG seemed to be barely holding on. Then, in the 40th minute, a single moment changed everything. How did one player's mistake double Barcelona's lead and cut PSG's advantage in half? The answer came in the form of an own goal by PSG defender Lavin Kurzawa. As Barcelona pressed forward, Andres Iniesta attempted a backheel flick in the PSG penalty area. Kurzawa, under intense pressure, tried to clear the ball but instead kicked it into his own net. This mistake was a clear sign of PSG's growing nervousness as they struggled to handle Barcelona's relentless attack. The own goal was a huge turning point in the match. It brought the score to 2-0 on the night and cut PSG's aggregate lead to 4-2. Barcelona now only needed 2 more goals to level the tie. The Camp Nou erupted with renewed hope and energy. The impossible suddenly seemed possible again. As the teams went into half-time with the score at 2-0, there was a growing belief among Barcelona players and fans. They had scored 2 goals in the first half. Could they score 3 more in the second? The momentum was clearly in Barcelona's favour, and PSG looked shaken. Barcelona manager Luis Enrique highlighted the importance of faith after the match. He said, "What defines this victory is faith. The faith of my players, the faith of our fans." This faith was clearly growing as Barcelona headed into the second half needing 3 more goals to complete an incredible comeback. The second half promised more drama. With Barcelona needing 3 goals, the stage was set for heroics. But who would step up? And could PSG find a way to silence the increasingly loud Camp Nou? As the team returned to the pitch, the energy in the stadium was electric. Barcelona had already scored twice, cutting PSG's lead in half. Now they needed just 2 more goals to level the tie. The impossible suddenly seemed within reach. It didn't take long for Barcelona to strike again. In the 50th minute, Neymar was fouled in the box by Thomas Meunier. The referee pointed to the spot, and all eyes turned to Lionel Messi. The Argentine stepped in, cool as ever, and slotted the penalty home. The stadium erupted. Barcelona had scored 3 goals, and the aggregate score now stood at 4-3. The momentum was firmly with Barcelona. PSG looked rattled, struggling to keep up with the relentless attacks. The French team could barely get out of their own half as Barcelona pushed for the equaliser. With every passing minute, the belief grew stronger among the players and fans alike. But football can be a cruel game, and PSG wasn't ready to roll over just yet. In the 62nd minute, against the run of play, Edinson Cavani scored for PSG. The goal came just moments after he had hit the post, highlighting the unpredictable nature of the match. Cavani's goal was a huge blow to Barcelona's chances. The aggregate score now stood at 5-3 to PSG, meaning Barcelona needed to score 3 more goals in less than 30 minutes. The task seemed nearly impossible. The mood in the Camp Nou shifted from jubilation to despair in an instant. Barcelona now faced a monumental challenge. They'd fought so hard to get back into the game, only to see their hopes dashed by a single moment of brilliance from Cavani. The players looked dejected, and even the most optimistic fans began to doubt. With time ticking away, Barcelona needed to regroup quickly. They had come too far to give up now. But scoring 3 goals in less than half an hour against one of Europe's top teams seemed like an insurmountable task. PSG, meanwhile, looked to have weathered the storm and regained control of the tie. As the match entered its final stages, Barcelona faced a dilemma. Should they throw everything forward in search of goals, risking further counterattacks from PSG, or should they accept defeat and save face? The next few minutes would reveal the true character of this Barcelona team. The tension in the stadium was palpable. Every Barcelona attack was met with a roar of encouragement from the crowd, and every PSG clearance was greeted with groans of frustration. The clock was Barcelona's biggest enemy now, ticking away relentlessly as their Champions League dreams hung by a thread. As hope faded in Camp Nou, Barcelona faced a seemingly impossible task. Yet, in football, as in life, sometimes the most extraordinary things happen when all seems lost. What unfolded in the final minutes would redefine the meaning of comeback in the history of football. As the clock ticked towards the 90th minute mark, Barcelona needed 3 goals to advance. The task seemed impossible, even for a team of their calibre. But as the saying goes, it's not over till it's over. In the 88th minute, a glimmer of hope emerged. Neymar stepped up to take a free kick just outside the PSG penalty area. The Brazilian's brilliant strike slipped inside goalkeeper Kevin Trapp's near post, igniting a spark of belief in the Camp Nou. The score now stood at 5-4 on aggregate, with Barcelona still needed 2 more goals to progress due to the away goals rule. The goal energised the team and the crowd. Barcelona pressed forward with renewed vigour, throwing everything they had at PSG's defence. The pressure was immense, and cracks began to show in the visitors' resolve. Just 2 minutes after his free kick, Neymar found himself at the centre of attention again. Luis Suarez was fouled in the box by Marquinhos, and the referee pointed to the spot. With the weight of 96,290 fans' hopes on his shoulders, Neymar stepped up to take the penalty. The tension in the stadium was palpable as Neymar placed the ball on the spot. With ice in his veins, he calmly slotted the penalty home in the 91st minute. The crowd erupted. Barcelona were now just 1 goal away from completing the impossible. PSG players looked shell-shocked. They had entered the match with a comfortable 4-0 win lead, and now found themselves desperately clinging to a 1-goal advantage. The pressure of the moment seemed to overwhelm them, leading to defensive mistakes and poor decision-making. As the clock ticked into injury time, Barcelona's attacks became relentless. Neymar, buoyed by his 2 goals, led the charge. His teammates fed off his energy, pushing forward in waves. PSG, meanwhile, retreated deeper and deeper into their own half, inviting pressure. The French team's defence began to crumble under the onslaught. Simple clearances became difficult, and every Barcelona attack sent shivers through the PSG ranks. The once confident visitors now looked like a team hanging on for dear life. Neymar's impact on the game cannot be overstated. In just a few minutes, he had transformed from a frustrated attacker to the catalyst of an incredible comeback. His free kick and penalty not only reduced the deficit, but also shifted the psychological balance of the match. The The Brazilian's performance was so impressive that he later declared it the best match of his career. It's hard to argue with that assessment. In those final minutes, Neymar didn't just score goals, he inspired his teammates and struck fear into the hearts of the opposition. As injury time wore on, the impossible began to feel inevitable. Barcelona's players, driven by a mix of desperation and belief, threw themselves forward at every opportunity. PSG, meanwhile, seemed frozen in the headlines, unable to stem the tide of attacks. The momentum had shifted so dramatically that even neutral observers began to sense something special was about to happen. The energy in the Camp Nou was electric, with every touch of the ball by a Barcelona player greeted by roars of encouragement. In those final moments, it wasn't just about the skill of the players on the pitch, it was about belief, determination, and the refusal to give up even when all seemed lost. Barcelona's players embodied these qualities, pushing themselves beyond their limits in pursuit of a miracle. As the match entered its final moments, the stage was set for one of the most dramatic conclusions in Champions League history. Barcelona had come so far, but could they find that one final goal to complete the greatest comeback the competition had ever seen? The Camp Nou was a cauldron of emotion as the match entered its final moments. Barcelona had already scored 5 goals, but they still needed one more to advance. The players pushed forward with every ounce of energy they had left. PSG, meanwhile, tried to hold on to their slim advantage. In the 95th minute, Barcelona launched one last attack. Neymar, who had been instrumental in the comeback, received the ball near the halfway line. He looked up and saw an opportunity. With pinpoint accuracy, he sent a cross into the PSG penalty area. The ball sailed over the defenders and time seemed to stand still. Then, out of nowhere, Sergio Roberto appeared. The substitute stretched out his leg and managed to flick the ball towards the goal. As it floated through the air, the entire stadium held its breath. When the ball hit the back of the net, the Camp Nou exploded with joy. Barcelona had done the impossible. They had scored 6 goals and overturned a 4-goal deficit. The final score was Barcelona 6, PSG 1, with an aggregate score of 6-5 to Barcelona. The scenes that followed were unforgettable. Barcelona players and coaching staff flooded onto the pitch, overcome with emotion. They hugged each other, some crying tears of joy. The fans in the stands were in a frenzy, hardly believing what they had just witnessed. On the other side, the PSG players were devastated. They had come so close to advancing, but had let a seemingly unbeatable lead slip away in the final minutes. Some fell to the ground in disbelief, while others stood motionless, trying to process what had just happened. The contrast in emotions between the two teams was stark. Barcelona's players celebrated as if they had won the Champions League itself. PSG's squad looked like they had just experienced the worst moment of their careers. In many ways, both reactions were justified given the historic nature of the comeback. After the initial celebrations died down, the reality of what Barcelona had achieved began to sink in. They had not only won the match, but had done so in a way that had never been seen before in Champions League history. No team had ever overturned a 4-goal deficit in the knockout stages of the competition. The Camp Nou remained filled with fans long after the final whistle. Many were in disbelief, celebrating the incredible turnaround and the team's historic achievement. The atmosphere was electric, with chants and songs echoing around the stadium as supporters tried to prolong the magical moment. The drama of the final moments highlighted the unpredictable nature of football. Barcelona had needed 3 goals in the last few minutes to complete the comeback, and against all the odds, they had managed it. It was a reminder that in football, it's never over until the final whistle blows. Sergio Roberto, the unlikely hero who scored the winning goal, became an instant legend in Barcelona. It was a moment that would define his career to date and etched his name into Champions League folklore. Soon, the match got a special name in Spain, La Remontada. This means the comeback in English. It wasn't just any comeback, it was the comeback. The name stuck, and it is still used today when people talk about this incredible game. But the legacy of this match goes beyond just one night or one season. It changed how teams approach 2-leg matches in European competitions. Now, teams know that no lead is safe, and no deficit is too big to overcome. So, was this the greatest comeback ever? There have been other amazing comebacks in football history, but the way Barcelona overcame such a big deficit in such a short time makes this one stand out for us. Let us know in the comments below what you think the greatest comeback in football is. Be sure to like and subscribe.